Savis and Savettes, I am VoxAgon, and today we're going to take a gander at the Sexy Brutale, collaboratively developed by the studios Tequila Works and Cavalier Game Studios. The Sexy Brutale is an isometric, narrative, adventure, puzzle game based around the mechanic of looping through time in order to stop a series of fiendish murders of various guests within the casino manor, that is, the Sexy Brutale, owned and operated by the decadent and magnificent Marquis Lucas Bondis. You, the player, control the time-jumping Bill Murray Bruce Willis-like looper, Lefcadio Boone, as you attempt to navigate your way through the threads of story and character in order to prevent these dastardly killings from occurring. For purposes of the gameplay in the background, not spoiling any of the greater narrative, the footage is only of the game's tutorial area and initial 15 minutes of play. The entirety of the game plays out over 12 continuous in-game hours, always at the fore of the player's consciousness by the pocket watch's presence upon the screen. When the clock reaches 12 once more, or at the player's discretion, time in the game is reset to midday, and another cycle until midnight takes place once again. In this 12-hour period of time, the player explores the manor, listens to conversations, spies on people and their doings, and fiddles with an array of objects in order to find the information that may prevent the death of a character they are currently tasked with saving by the apparent conductor of this grisly lifeboat, the Bloody Lady, who is the only other entity in the game cognizant of Lefcadio's abilities. This time-pressured exploration and discovery is made all the more grueling by the fact that the player may never occupy the same room as either a casino's guest or one of the cunning killers running hither and thither in preparation of their murderous might and ploys. Every plot that the player conjures to impede and prevent the murder of the casino's guests must be done in the background, on the sly, without your intrusion ever being known until the guest has been saved, as if you are a groundhog version of Jerry Maguire. With each guest of the manor saved, Lefcadio gains the power of their unique mask, and a touch more of the narrative is revealed. Although this latter aspect is rather constant as you move about the estate, exploring the visual and oral delights that are to be found. Just look at the Sexy Brutale. Just look and listen. Savis and Savettes, I am VoxAgon, and today we're going to take a gander at the Sexy Brutale. Did I make mention that all characters within the game world and the manor are dressed as if they were attending a lavish masquerade ball? Each murderer's facial construct is hidden behind a terrifying gas mask, their mask presence common between them all, but each guest is rendered and attired in wonderful resplendent garb of grandiose design, and with a matching mask concealing their face. Concealing, that is, until Boone saves them from their untimely fate, at which point the mask flies to the player, surrendering itself and its powers to the player. Powers that are intrinsically and thematically linked to the original owner of the mask. It is in this way that the player gains access to new sections of the manor, for the saved guests' masks grant a variety of new powers to Lefcadio that, often, do not automatically allow novel exploration of the estate, but rather require the player to use the powers in a sensible and narrative-focused way to glean information that permits this new maneuvering around the manor. Slowly, but surely, over, through, up, down, loop, around, and within time, the story of the Sexy Brutale, much the same as the puzzles that dominate the saving of guests, is revealed, and with each room of the mansion explored, with each conversation spied upon, with each guest saved, the purpose, background, and existence of everything edges its way to sense. Savis and Savettes, I am VoxAgon, and today we're going to take a gander at the Sexy Brutale, and what a triumph of narrative this video game is. Not only through the eavesdropped conversations or monologues from the bloody woman, but from the actual visuals and audio of the game as well. It is indeed a tricky task to convey how brilliant the Sexy Brutale is without spoiling the narrative, and I certainly won't do that. But there are instances in the game where one has the capability to glean so much information of the world, of the story, just by the narrative clues hidden within the audio and the art. It is quite possible to merely stand in a room for the 12 hours of in-game time, which fly by rather swiftly, and listen only to the aural qualities of the game. A gunshot at this hour, a surge of electricity at another, glass shattering in the afternoon. And each of these sound effects of this auditory storytelling corresponds to actions and events happening throughout the manor at the time that they are heard. They are tales of a world, of lives, at play within the game that are occurring whether you intervene or not. They are not sequences waiting for a savior. This is indeed life and death, and it pays little heed to whether you are present or not. But when you are present, and when you are determined, what were distant sounds become the product of narrative vibrancy. This too extends itself into the art of the game, and what can I possibly utter of the art and animation in the Sexy Brutale, other than it is sublime, superb, splendid, soaring? I'm out of S's. This too extends itself into the art of the game, and what can I possibly utter of the art and animation in the Sexy Brutale, other than it is vastly compelling, and the artists behind all the works and visuals to be found in the game are vast talents within this creative industry. From the framed works of art and sculptures lining the halls and rooms of the manor, to the isometric beauty and congruence of the game world itself, only ever allowing one room to be displayed at a time, surrounded beyond it by a beautiful black starry void. It lures one's eye into the exquisite craftsmanship of each place. Beyond the brilliance of the art to be found here, this is a quality of artistic design and draw that tantalizes the eye. For myself, apart from the name of the title, the screenshots on its Steam store page were what originally drew me to purchase this title. I believe it is quite telling that even those screams and gunshots that resounded around me as the pocket watch's hours rushed past, I, regardless, still found myself simply staring at in-game pieces of art throughout the entirety of the game. No doubt to the lamentations of the deceased, but as captivating as a mirror was to Narcissus. Sublime. Sublime indeed. Moreover, I did not expect the characters, given their and the world's stylization, to have the quality of animation they are possessed of. Lafcadio has weight when he runs. Turning, when trotting along a hall, displays the weight of momentum. Such a minor facet, creating such great congruence with the world building at play. This is not limited by any means to Boone alone. Each character, guest, villain are expertly animated, and their interaction in the world feels expected and intricately entwined to the stylization of the people at play. And perhaps that is why the Sexy Brutale is a marvel in this artistic enterprise of video games. It is stylistically and artistically whole and formed and magnificent. Savies and Savettes, I am VoxAgon, and today we're going to take a gander at the Sexy Brutale and why its genius design would have driven me to insanity, but was nevertheless a feat accomplished by truly imaginative and brilliant designers. Imagine, if you will, a multi-tiered manor, an estate, hallways and hidden holes, dozens of rooms filled with a dozen guests and murderers. Give them each an individual schedule, an individual narrative, an individual identity, and an array of actions, then blend their entireties together in order to weave a functional, smart story that is adult and grim and wonderful and emotive and human. Then design this to play out over and within a continuous time frame wherein all these Shakespearean players are upon the stage, intersecting, isolated, occupied, and then incorporate the actions of a player within this puzzling dynamic and configure savvy, narratively authentic ways to guide and gate the character within, between, and through these vast arrays of interactions and discoveries. And you have the components for an arrangement of set pieces and design that certainly phrase my very ability to try and fit them together in a theoretical conceptual construct within my mind. And these developers brought it to life together with captivating gameplay that rewards perception and the journey with narrative excellence. There is genius behind the Sexy Brutale in every facet and every stone of its construction. And its music. Oh, it's music. Savvies and Savettes, I am VoxAgon, and today we're going to take a gander at the Sexy Brutale and my incomprehension of people on the title's forum speaking to its terrible title, stating that the game would have been purchased by them or would have been better received had it had a better name than the Sexy Brutale. I cannot understand this, and I believe if this title had any other name than the one it currently possesses, it would have lost the substrate and essence of its artistic core. Besides the art of the Sexy Brutale, its very name is what drew me to it first and foremost, for a rose does not always smell as sweet if it is called by another name. Sorry, Will. The title of an artistic artifact is our first entry point into discovering what may await us within. The Sexy Brutale, apart from tugging on inquisitive strings from our brains to our groins, fulfills the depth of this analytic precept vastly well. By the conclusion, by the denouement of the game's narrative, the title of the game is given such significance and worth if one but considers it for a minute. These I cannot expand upon, and may only vouch that they do indeed exist. The Sexy Brutale is as supremely clever as its design, art, sound, music, and gameplay. To those detractors of this title, I have this to say to you. You are the noun that is the consequence of a priggish puritanical epithet insertion subsequent to the loss of a definite article adjective within the title at play. Verily so. Savvies and Savettes, I am VoxAgon, and today we're going to take a gander at the Sexy Brutale and the criticisms that I have of it. Lafcadio's footsteps are too loud and too penetrating. That is all. That's it. That is the sole problem, the sole invective I can thrust upon the Sexy Brutale. In every way that this art form of a video game can offer, the Sexy Brutale is a masterpiece. I dare say I would call it a magnum opus of sorts, but I do not know where Cavalier Game Studios and Tequila Works will pour the essence of their creativity next. But if today were the end of Lafcadio's loop, then the sentiment remains as voracious as V's voluble vociferations in V for Vendetta. The Sexy Brutale has become one of my favorite games of all time, and I believe it belongs in a pantheon of the greats. I will honor this one day, if I may, but know that your time and money spent within the extravagant, radiant brilliance of this game will be rewarded many times over, times over, times over, and times over. It will loop with you forever, and its story will never let the throes of time abate it, and its humanness will nestle in a cockle of your sentient heart for the rest of your days. Savis and Savettes, I am VoxAgon, and today we're going to take a gander at the Sexy Brutale. But we've been here before. I feel as if we've gandered before, or have we yet to gander? Or has all the gandering already forever been? And has been? And will be? If you have in the past enjoyed clicking a like button and sharing the beauty of art and subscribing to possible scintillations, then please loop once more and do the same. If not, the loss of all the jazz in life is just alongside it. Savis and Savettes, I am VoxAgon, and today we're going to take a gander at the Sexy Brutale. Until we meet again.